Hello everyone and welcome to the latest installment of the G-Shift Client Success webinar series. My name is Jeff Riddall. I'm the Director of Product Strategy here at G-Shift, and today I'm going to be talking about the not so scary topic of Google Plus tricks and treats. So happy Halloween everyone, and we hope you enjoyed today's presentation. Just a little quick overview of myself. I'm the Director of Product Strategy as mentioned. I've been working in the web marketing space, dealing with SEO and content marketing for a little over 12 years now, so that makes me something of a dinosaur, I guess, in internet terms. I'm a journalism major, a blogger at imahockeydad.com, and something of a social media addict, which my friends and family will certainly attest to. You can see where you can connect with me over there on the right, a few different places online. And my other claim to fame, if you will, is I am a hockey dad. I mentioned the blog, and if you don't find me at work, you're likely going to find me at a rink somewhere. Anyways, enough about me. Today we wanted to cover a few different topics around Google Plus, a social network, and a channel that is somewhat underused by many, and we'd like to maybe give you a little bit of insight into the value proposition that Google Plus holds for brands and local businesses. We'll talk about how to set up and fully configure a Google Plus business page. Then look at some tips for posting, curating, and sharing content on Google Plus. And then ultimately, one of the topics that's near and dear to everyone's heart here at G-Shift is measuring the effectiveness of Google Plus and determining whether or not it's indeed a channel that you should be leveraging for your business. Ultimately, we hope the outcome today is that you're able to leverage Google Plus as an important channel to help improve your overall organic web presence. So why Google Plus? Well, it is owned, managed, and readily indexed by Google. There's no disputing that. So insofar as Google introduced this social network as a direct response to the things that were happening on Facebook and Twitter a little over 2 years ago now, leads one to believe that that's a space and a network that Google's committed to, and that the content that resides there, as mentioned, is readily being indexed and is being paid attention to. So important to consider from that perspective. Also, at last count, over 343 million active users just can't be wrong. There is an audience there for some, and of course it's a matter of figuring out whether your audience is there and whether or not the content and your web presence will resonate, and you'll be able to leverage it as a viable channel. But there certainly are some strong, large communities that aren't to be ignored. The graph there at the bottom notes that the Google Plus actually is the third largest social network in terms of active users, and so even they're ahead of LinkedIn, Twitter, and Tumblr, among others. Facebook is still at the top there. We know it to be the king, but Google Plus is holding its own, and we certainly think it's a network that should be at the very least not ignored and paid some attention to. The other reason to consider Google Plus is that we know social signals matter, and social platform usage is increasing as a critical component of optimized content marketing. It's just one more distribution channel for your content and a spoke in your larger web presence. You'll see our graph here from the Content Marketing Institute as recently as early 2015 shows that Google Plus is among the leading platforms from a B2C perspective in terms of marketers leveraging it to distribute and share their content. So again, those numbers don't lie. It's a player that needs to be paid some attention to. So let's talk a little bit about just setting up a Google presence. Google Plus, as Facebook and other social networks for that matter, starts as a personal network. So it is important, or necessary, not just important, but necessary to first off set up a Google Plus personal profile. Now here at GShift, and when we work directly with some of our clients, we recommend identifying a person and or a persona within your organization that can be that Google Plus person or effectively that Facebook person. Maybe that's your spokesperson, the person responsible for authoring a lot of your content, and so perhaps that's who that personal profile is set up under. If not, creating a central a Google account that's managed by the organization makes a lot of sense, just so that you can keep all of that stuff, that Google stuff, your Google Analytics, your YouTube, your Google Webmaster Tools, and your Google Plus profile information, as well as your Google Plus business page under one umbrella. Step 2, having created that personal profile, is to create a Google My Business or a Google Plus brand page. There is a differentiation in that when you go to set up your page, you'll see that Google actually asks you to create your business type. And so the types available are either a Google My Business, which is a locally focused page, whereby you either have a storefront where you're dealing with your customers directly, they're coming into your store, and so you have a distinct local audience. Also, though, you might have a service area. So again, local, but you deal with a larger service area. You don't deal from strictly a service, from directly a storefront, and so a service area might be the type that you choose. Alternatively, if you're larger, not having a local focus, then you would select the brand option, in which case you're going to create a Google Plus brand page as opposed to a Google My Business page. Once you've established the Google Plus business page, then ultimately you're looking to optimize and fill that page, configure that page with as much keyword-rich content and info as you can to fill out, for all intents and purposes, your Google Plus profile. Within both the local Google My Business as well as the Google Plus brand pages, there's an opportunity to incorporate a story or about us section, if you will, and we highly recommend incorporating links to relevant pages, linking from keywords within that description area within the Google Plus page. Adding any other relevant or related links to your perhaps other social accounts or other web presence points. Say, for instance, if you have an external blog, you might want to include those. And within the context of a Google Plus brand page, we've made a reference over here on the right in the diagram, you can add those external links. And so you want to link to all related sites or related, again, web presence points, social accounts that are applicable. Of course, you also want to add in your logo, a branded cover photo, whatever might be applicable or appropriate, and then add in any relevant photos and or videos. Now with videos, if you set up the Google Plus business page correctly and it's associated with your Google account, grander Google account, which includes a YouTube account, then those videos will be pulled into the video section automatically. But you also want to think about uploading some relevant photos. From a brand perspective, maybe those are photos of your products or services which can link back to those products and services on your primary website. If you're local, obviously, again, you want some relevant local photos, images, maybe of your storefront, maybe again of your products or services, ideally linking back to your primary website to try and drive some referral traffic, and obviously just wanting to incorporate those as part of your online profile. Here's just an example, a second example. The first was of a Google Plus brand page. This is a Google My Business page, and you'll see over here on the left-hand side where we can add in again that description with some links to relevant website pages. Another important component of and difference between a Google Plus branded page and a Google My Business page is the review capability or review section that's incorporated into the overall profile. And reviews are an important part. We could spend an entire session just talking about the importance of online reviews and procuring reviews or asking for reviews from your customers if you're a local business. Won't touch on that a whole lot today, but but certainly reviews are an important component of a Google My Business page. Having set up your page, in order to be able to not post, but have people find and read your content that you'll be posting to your Google Plus page, you're going to want to start by identifying and following relevant users, pages, and or communities on Google Plus to start to build your own circle of followers who are going to have access to that content that you're posting. You also want to include Google Plus follow and share icons on your website. Make sure that people know about your Google Plus page. Give them an ample opportunity to share the content that you're creating on your website to Google Plus. Ultimately, if you have followers to your Google Plus page, they're more likely to see your content in regular search results. So those that have followed your page and or liked your content and are on Google, obviously doing their daily searching, are going to see your results come up above others by virtue of the fact that you have that Google Plus presence. So again, another good reason to just maintain that presence in the first place. Just back up to the top for one moment. Talked about identifying and following relevant users, pages, and communities. Simply a matter of going into Google Plus and doing some searches. You're able to search based on pages or content within Google Plus. You're also able to search for people and or communities, and communities is an important aspect of Google Plus. There are many different categories of communities that are setting up spaces within Google Plus, and ones that you might not even think of, but certainly doing a quick search on your keywords, product and or service keywords, and seeing whether or not those users, pages, or communities exist. If they do, following them and looking for that return follow is certainly a best practice. You need followers before you can post content and expect that anybody's going to see, like, or share it. So having set up a page, established something of a following, now we're going to talk about actually posting to Google Plus. And here are a couple of tricks, if you will, around setting up and posting to Google Plus. First and foremost, as with posting to any social network, we want to make sure that the content we post is keyword rich, visually oriented, because content with visuals is much easier to see, is much more engaging, and ultimately we want that content to link to web content that you maintain on your primary site, or that you maintain on a blog, content that you're ultimately promoting. So in the example over on the right, we're going to be posting some content that's going to link to a page on our site, and we've incorporated an image there along with it, or that image may have been pulled in automatically from the link that we're posting. If it's a blog post, we've incorporated an image into the blog post. That image should automatically be pulled into our post here on Google+. One quick little trick is to use asterisks to create keyword-rich post titles. You'll see that we've surrounded this title, use keywords in your post title, with those asterisks. What that does is effectively bold that as a title for your post. So that's something that a lot of organizations miss, and again, we want those titles to be keyword rich, so Google will focus in on them when they're indexing the post, and the bolding just makes it that much easier for readers and viewers to identify what the post is about. You also, as in other social networks, can leverage keyword rich hashtags to enhance the overall searchability of your posts. So create hashtags that include keywords associated with your products, services, or brand name. And when people are searching on Google+, one of the things they're doing is they're using those hashtags to pull up related content, pull up content that's associated with those hashtags. So we highly recommend looking to incorporate those hashtags into your posts where they make sense. And you'll see when you add a hashtag within Google+, it actually is displayed just as a hashtag. And as you're typing in your hashtags, you'll see that there'll be recommended or suggested hashtags that come up. A great way to identify different variations on keywords or phrases that you might use in your hashtagging. Another very important component of posting, not only to Google Plus but social networks in general, is to be sure you include a call to action. And by that I mean on Google Plus a +1, share, or click call to action. So as I'm posting, I'd be asking if you like this article, please share it, or click here to see more information, click to read the full article. Any of those calls to action are important to entice the reader to do just that, take the action that you want them to take, whether it's +1ing, that is liking the content, sharing with their audience or their followers, or clicking to get that referral traffic to your website. Again, having created the content, the next thing you're going to want to do, and having posted it to your own stream, is looking to share it with other relevant circles and or communities. When you first go to share it, there's options of which circles you want to share that content with, and over time you can build these circles based on people that are following you or pages or people that you follow, and you can put them into categorized circles, which is a great feature of Google+. And so as you're deciding, who's this piece of content appropriate for, you can choose from those categorized circles. Once you hit that share button, you can go back and you can then reshare your own post with relevant communities. The thing about communities in Google Plus is you're only allowed to share with one at a time. They are trying to negate people who are trying to spam multiple communities. So generally speaking, to have a rule of thumb would be post to not more than 2 or maybe 3 communities at a time, or share your content with those communities over a period of time. So maybe today I post to one community, tomorrow I post to another, maybe in 2 or 3 days time I post to a third community. So spread out that posting. We don't want to encourage anybody spamming 25 communities all at the same time. The last thing I'll mention, and this is not something that happens on Google Plus but can actually happen on your website, is consider embedding your posts, your Google Plus posts, into your web pages or your blog posts. There is an option once you've posted this to your own site, you've shared it on Google Plus, to embed or take a snapshot of your post and embed that as HTML anywhere, as a snippet of code anywhere really on any site. So again, our recommendation here would be things like photo galleries. So if you've posted a gallery on Google Plus, you can take a snippet, or you can take that gallery and really, as I said, post it anywhere. Maybe that goes into the photo section of your own website, or maybe it's an event. So one type of post on Google Plus is an event. If you're wanting to post an event there and let the world know about it, you can take and embed that event maybe into the event section. So what that effectively does is has a dual purpose of letting people know again that you're on Google Plus, giving them an opportunity to +1 your photo gallery or your event, or maybe for that matter just visit your Google Plus page and like and share it there. So again, just a way of building your web presence, or more specifically your Google Plus presence over time. Oh, jump one back. So now let's talk a little bit about measuring Google Plus. We again want to ultimately identify the value of Google Plus in relation to the other social networks that we might be leveraging. So whether it be Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube or Pinterest, within GShift you have the opportunity to monitor any or all of those from a social page signal and network social signal, as well as the referral traffic that's coming to or from those networks. So here you'll see we have the Google Plus section specifically within the social metrics area of GShift. We can see how many new page signals have been received or how many +1s on Google Plus. We can also see how many referrals and or conversions have been received from Google Plus relative to the other social networks that we're following. And based on that, we can determine whether or not Google Plus is indeed a network that we should be paying attention to. The other thing we can look for in terms of monitoring Google Plus activity is looking at our keyword positions and seeing whether or not our Google Plus page, and or from time to time we'll even see posts or content that have been posted to Google Plus showing up within search results. So something to pay attention to, things that you want to monitor and figure out the true value of Google Plus to your organization. Here's a little more detailed look at the social metrics we pull from Google Plus, so you can see that we get the page signals. So how many times were pages from our site shared or +1 on Google Plus? How many +1s? How many reshares? How many times have we posted? And all of this information we're looking at over the last 90 days. And then again, we're looking at a total over time, so not only what's happened in the last 90 days, but what are the totals like since we started or have been leveraging Google+. And then again, we also get information specific to sessions, so referral traffic and or conversions for Google+. And so you can see from this example, there is some activity. There's some things that are happening for this particular site over the last 90 days, and certainly something we don't simply want to ignore. We can also, within the trends area in social metrics, Google Plus and trends, you'll see that we can compare a couple of metrics over time. So in this case, we're looking at the last 90 days. How many posts have we put up on Google Plus? Haven't been super active on this particular account, but also how many reshares. And so we'd be looking for things like spikes in over time as to whether or not are our shares of content going up, which is good to see, and or are there any spikes? Was there any particular post or activity that saw more engagement, more activity than others? And so we can make these comparisons. Again, use this information to decide the ultimate value of Google Plus, and or what topics, what content really resonates there. In relation to maybe other content we're posting across other social networks. Outside of G-Shift, Google Plus also has its own insights. Now in time, we hope to be able to pull this into G-Shift, not currently available through the Google Plus API, but if and when we can, we'll certainly look to get this incorporated. But there's some really rich and potentially valuable data in terms of visibility, just so how much visibility is your page and or your content getting. Engagement, again, how many actions have been taken on posts, breaking that down by post, and then the average actions by post type, whether that be followed, whether it's links that you've posted, photos or videos, and what type of interaction has been seen in terms of each of those. And then there's also even a breakdown in terms of your audiences. So how many followers do you have? Where are they geographically located? And even a breakdown of gender and age demographics. So good information to be able to really see what your audience looks like on Google Plus, and again assign some value to Google Plus as a network versus some of the others. This month, for this particular webinar, we do have a special promotion, not Google Plus oriented in particular, but our social keyword research module which is focused primarily on Twitter, is currently half off the regular price with a new 12-month subscription. What that entitles you is 5 keywords, 5,000 tweets per month, and $5 per keyword for everyone over the initial 5 keywords. Becoming an increasingly important way of doing keyword research outside of leveraging traditional Google AdWords, Keyword Planner, and other methods. This is effectively leveraging Twitter, where people are using keywords and hashtags regularly to identify what conversations are happening, who's having those conversations, and what content is being posted, as well as what a related or other keywords have been used in relation to maybe some keywords that you're tracking in Twitter. So great potential resource that people can take a look at. I'll also mention that we have a G-Shift referral program for anyone who is interested in referring new business to G-Shift. There's a potential to receive a 5% referral fee. So certainly contact sales at G-Shift Labs or your client success manager for more details on either of those opportunities. Um, from my own perspective, being the director of product strategy, I also wanted to just let you know about some new features, functionalities within GShift. First off, we now support Yandex, which is the Russian search engine, Baidu, which is the Chinese search engine, and Naver, which is the South Korean search engine, and pull in keyword data, keyword position data for all of those international search engines, for those that are looking to get a true sense of their global presence and how they may be being found and or ranking and positioned in search engines other than the standard Google, Bing, and or Yahoo. So that was an exciting new release or component of the solution that came out last month, September. We also now have a content performance module I'd highly recommend and report that I'd highly recommend people who are running content marketing campaigns take a look at. It allows you to really focus in on very specific pages of content, keywords, and how that content's performing within specific channels, whether it be direct, search, social, mobile, and or email channels. So really breaking down a piece of content and getting a sense of how it's resonating and how it's been engaged with at a very detailed level for a specific period of time. So it's very focused on campaigns for those that are running campaigns out there. Many of you may have already noticed that we've changed the layout of our web presence report. We like to think for the better, maybe organize it a little better, so when you're setting up your report, it's easy to determine and pick which specific options, which specific data you want to see reflected in that web presence report, whether you're running that on a weekly, monthly, quarterly, or scheduled basis, because those are available to be sent out on a scheduled basis via email for those users that want to receive those regular reports. Also very excited to announce an integration we have with Constant Contact, the email service provider, effectively pulling Constant Contact information into our content performance module as well into our web presence reports. Just one more piece of channel or web presence information to see within the context of your greater web presence, saving you time not having to look in two different places and or generating two different reports on this type of information. So we hope you, for those of you that are Constant Contact users, that you check out that integration. Lastly, I'll mention Pinterest page signals within the social metrics data area in GShift. You'll notice that we now are reporting on Pinterest page signals, and again, by that we mean people who have come to a web page, they've seen and or pinned an image or repinned an image from a particular page, reporting on that activity. Again, useful social signal information for those who are actively involved or leveraging Pinterest as a social network. So, outside of those new items, always be sure to check out our product update section within the resources area in GShift, where we're regularly posting product updates. There's links to videos to find out how to use some of these new features or functions, and you can always also reach out to training at GShift Labs or sales at gshiftlabs.com if you've got specific questions about specific functionalities. We do regular training sessions on Tuesdays and Thursdays each week for either getting started or advanced GShift users, and we'd highly recommend that you leverage those resources as needed. Lastly, next month's webinar will cover client and competitive conversation and presence analysis, the first section in GShift's brand digital content strategy services offering. So if you're interested in sort of that first step in our process of really identifying what's happening in terms of establishing benchmark or baseline information for your clients and or their competitors, or yourself and or your competitors, certainly tune in for that next webinar that one of my able client success manager colleagues will be covering, and we hope to see you there. And that wraps it up for me today. I thank you very much again for your time and attention. Hope you found some really useful information here. But if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out. And we look forward to seeing you at the next webinar. Thank you very much.